Well, I'm very happy to introduce our speaker, Janet Voris. Janet has been the program manager of the Placer Land Trust for the last several years, and they have worked to preserve land, both natural and agricultural land in our county. And as of July this year, the Placer Land Trust, working with local landowners, has preserved over 10,000 acres of land in Placer County since 1991. In her presentation, Janet will give us a history and overview of the preservation work done by the Trust, and she will also tell us about their programs to enhance the land, such as habitat restoration and trail building. After the meeting adjourns, Janet will be available for a few minutes to answer your questions and share information about volunteer opportunities, and there's lots of information over there. So please join me in welcoming Janet.
Does this come out of here? Well, it's always a lot more fun to give a presentation when your PowerPoint works. And I spent a bunch of time putting a whole bunch of really cool pictures together to share with you. So, so let me tell you a little. I'll start with a little about me. So I am originally from the Portland area, and I live just outside of Lincoln on Fruitvale Road, and I've lived here since the year 2000. My husband and I are raising a grandchild, and we both still work full-time, so we've got our hands full. She's currently in 5th grade. So she's been living with us since she was 3 years old, and she's 10 now. So it's a lot of work to juggle, working and raising a grandkid. It's not something I thought I was going to be doing at my age, but, you kind of got to go with the flow. So I started working at the Land Trust officially in 2011. I started as a volunteer in 2010, shortly after graduating from Sac State with a bachelor's degree in environmental studies, and called my friend Justin, who works at the Land Trust, and said, hey, I need something to do while I'm getting my resume together to look for a job. Can I come volunteer up there? And he said, sure, come on up. And my volunteer job sort of turned itself into a position that I've now been doing. They officially hired me as a staff in 2011. So it's been a whole lot of fun. I've learned a lot of stuff that I didn't know. So the Land Trust started in 1991 as an all-volunteer group, sort of down in Roseville. Some people got together and said, hey, we have to do something about the development that's happening, because Placer County is one of the fastest growing developing areas, and we don't want to see it turn into another Los Angeles. So they got together and formed the Land Trust, and at that time it was the Placer Land Trust and Nature Center all together as one. And the Placer Nature Center still exists, but for the first 10 years of the Placer Land Trust and Nature Center, most of the focus was on environmental education towards children, and only 80 acres of land had been protected in that first 10 years. So the board of directors said, hey, we think it would probably be better if we just split into 2 nonprofits so we could each focus on what we're doing. So in 2002, we became a standalone as the Placer Land Trust, and have now just protected a little over 10,000 acres of land in the county. We work with willing landowners and conservation partners. That's the mission of what we do. So some people think, maybe let me back up. Who doesn't know what a land trust is or does? A show of hands. So a few of you. Barb Prophet, where are you? You're back there. So you kind of know, because you've been a member of ours for a little while and come on a few of our events. So the Land Trust basic mission is working with willing landowners and conservation partners to preserve land in the county. And land trusts are all over the state and all over the nation. I'm actually traveling to Pittsburgh next week to go to our National Land Trust Alliance convention. And that's the farthest east, I think, that I've been in the United States. So I'm kind of excited, although my granddaughter is having some anxiety because Nana's going to be gone. So we're not an advocacy group, so we're politically neutral in what we do. We are a 501c3 nonprofit community benefits organization. So we do a little bit of fundraising. We have 2 major fundraising events every year. One of those is the Big Day of Giving, which is usually the first Thursday in May. And we've done very well in the last 3 years, I believe, that we've participated. We've come in first in the region, raising a lot of money, and people say, how do you do that? And our answer is, we have great supporters and great members, and it's really expensive to preserve land. So people seem to get that. And then our other fundraiser, can I walk across the front? Okay, thank you. So I do have a bunch of stuff that I brought over here. And the other major fundraiser we have is our annual Placer Conservator Award Dinner ceremony. And this year we're honoring Daryl and Sue Ost. And the Ost family has been they've been ranchers in Auburn. Let's see, he's a 5th generation. I believe they said that his great-great-great-grandpa bought the farm in 1848 or something like that. So they have, we've been working with them since about 2007. They're our first agriculture, rancher-related project. And we've been protecting his ranch in phases. So we're very close to closing on the final phase of protecting his ranch, and we're hoping that it will get completed by the time of the conservator, depending how fast all the grant paperwork and stuff can get completed. So we're really excited about that, because when all that is said and done, that will be, his ranch is just over 900 acres in total, and we're adding another 300 in this last phase to bring it all up to in a conservation easement. So I really wish I had something there to guide you to. So the land trust, we protect land in 2 different ways. One way is by fee title, which is we purchase it outright like you would purchase your home. The other way is through a conservation easement, in which the landowner stays on their land, or they still retain ownership of their land, but they sell their development rights to the land trust, so that it's less appealing to a developer to try to buy it from them to turn it into like bunch of little houses and development. So those are the 2 ways that we preserve land in the county. Right now we're about 50-50 with what we own outright and what we have conservation easements on. And then within the easements there's 2 kinds. There's a regular conservation easement, and then there's an agricultural conservation easement for the ones that we're working with the ranchers and the farmers that are producing some sort of agriculture on their property. Up here, I also have one of our last annual community report, and it has some nice pictures in it of some of the work that we've done. So I would encourage you to come up and grab one if you're interested, so that you can see. We just recently closed on an easement on something that we haven't done before. We worked with a developer who has a mitigation bank, and this is close in Lincoln. It's out just on the other side of the casino. It's the Antonio Mountain Ranch Preserve, and it is almost 800 acres, and it's going to be a mitigation bank. The developer is going to be restoring the land that's out there right now, adding back the vernal pools and some of the other habitat that used to be out there. And the land trust holds an easement on that. So this is interesting. It was a great project to work on. There's a couple pictures in here. I had a slide that I was going to show you. A couple other things that are happening in the Lincoln area, and it's not as much fun without pictures. So, I just stand here and talk. So, so we have our Doty Ravine Preserve that is out near the Manzanita Cemetery. And if you're not sure where that is, if you're heading out of town, you get on Gladding Road and follow Gladding, and then Right when you're crossing the Doty Ravine Creek, the Placer Land Trust has a preserve there that we call our Doty Ravine Preserve, and it is, I believe, 460 acres roughly. And we have been working for the past couple years with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service on restoring a historic floodplain on that property. So that property has, for about 100 years or so, had some levees put up on it to channelize the stream so that it would not spill over into the field. And I think they were, whoever owned it before was growing, I don't know, grass or something there that they didn't want the creek to flood. So when we discovered that this old historic floodplain was there, it caught the interest of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service because they were looking for some kind of a project that had to deal with helping slow water from running down. So we're currently in phase 3 of this project. We just had some heavy equipment out there removing some more of the levee so that it will spill over when the rains are heavy. We have, of course, great pictures that I can't show you of how it was actually working when the last winter when we had some heavier rains. The water did channelize into the floodplain a little bit more, spilled over into that, and flooded that, and prevented the water all from flooding the people that live downstream of where our preserve is. So it slowed the water down, lets the water permeate back into the ground, helping with, drought, helping to increase the water table level on the preserve, which we do have grazing done. So this has actually allowed the grazer to graze the cattle on there longer because the property, the grass is staying greener longer than it did before we started this project. Another unique thing about this project is that we're working with the beaver. Before we had a beaver issue, we kept trying to get rid of them and relocate them, and they kept coming back. They were cutting the trees down. And, we finally decided that if we can't beat them, let's work with them, yes. So we started doing little teasers with them and driving what they call beaver dam analogs into the creek where we wanted them to flood it. And it's basically like a post, and you put a series of these posts in the creek to sort of start a dam, and then the beaver come along and go, oh, look, we can do this. That looks like a good spot for us to build our dam. So we have successfully put in several series of these beaver dam analogs in various places on the creek to drive the creek water into the floodplain. And one of the side effects is that it actually created this amazing pond that we had no idea was going to happen. And with the pond came the waterfowl. So we have some great shots. Is Phil Robertson in this room? I'm not sure if he's part of the hiking club, but he's an amazing photographer that lives here in Lincoln. And he's come out to the preserve a few times and taken pictures of things that he sees that how they've changed over the time since we started this project. And the amazing waterfowl that's out there, and the whole ecosystem has just evolved and changed with the addition of this water in the pond and the health of the ground and the health of the grass around it, and everything has just really flourished since we've started working on this project. So I think we're about halfway through phase 3. This has been a multi-year project, a multi-grant project working with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, so we're pretty excited to have that. Also, another project that we have in the Lincoln area is our Swainson's Grassland Preserve, which if you're going out Old Highway 65, just when you get past Gladding Road, there's an old barn on the right side that we restored a few years ago. Our preserve, Swainson's Preserve, kind of straddles Old Highway 65. What do they call that now? Lincoln Boulevard? Is that what it's called now? Oh, Lincoln Boulevard. So it straddles both sides of that, kind of butts up against the people that live in the Fosquet Ranch area. And on the side with the barn, we've done some restoration work over there as far as improving the water as it sinks into the ground, and added some shrubs and other things to make it healthier on that side. On the bigger side that's across the street, we have burrowing owls, and we have what we think is the only residing burrowing owls, year-round residing burrowing owls in Placer County on our Swainson's Preserve. Normally, they migrate somewhere, and they like our Swainson's Grassland Preserve. It's a big, open, grassy field. We do have some grazing going on, but not so much that the owls feel threatened by this. So we have been putting artificial burrows in there, and I think we've had more than a dozen baby owls this year, which is another great picture I was going to show on my slideshow, because there's not much cuter than a baby burrowing owl. They're just adorable. And we've also had squirrels living in these nests. So the ground squirrels look, oh, that's a nice place for me. So we have a picture of the owls actually chasing the squirrels out of there, which was pretty cute. And this is all, we've experimented quite a few times to figure out the best method for putting in these artificial burrows. And the last one seems to be the most successful. The first few we tried, when it rained, they got flooded. Or if we put them higher so that they were above the ground a little more, the cows walked on them and trampled them. And so then we had to start thinking, well, how are we going to do this right? So we got some clay pipe from Gladding McBean. They donated some clay pipe, and we put long, probably 10 to 12 foot clay pipe sitting on top of the ground with a barrel at one end, like a half of a barrel that was cut. And the barrel is what is actually the nest for this. The clay pipe at the other end is where they enter, and then they kind of crawl through about 10 to 12 feet of this clay pipe to get to the nest. Then we put gravel over the top of that so that the cows couldn't walk on it and smash it, and then put dirt over the top of the gravel to act as an insulator. And we do 2 of these nests. Let me put this down for a sec. 2 nests kind of facing each other like this, with a perch in the middle, and the owls will come and sit on the perch, and if they see a predator or anything, they'll give out a warning call, and then all the littles go scurrying back into the nest. And the opening of these pipes is only about yay big. It's not very big, because the burrowing owls themselves, they're not very big. They're pretty small little things. Totally cute. So that's all happening right here in the Lincoln area, and we're super pleased with that. We've also been working, how much time do I have left? 15 minutes, okay. If I choose, okay, well, how many people have hiked at Hidden Falls? Oh, wow, a whole bunch of you. So you've probably, if you're following what's going on with the county, we've been working with the county for quite a while, and they're working on a Hidden Falls trail expansion that will expand up onto some Placer Land Trust preserves, if they can find another parking area. So that is the issue right now. There's a piece of property called Twilight Ride that they're currently investigating. They've done an NOP. They're taking public comment right now. They're going to be creating the EIR to go through this process. And of course, the people that live near there don't want a parking lot in their area because they saw what happened at Hidden Falls. But when they find the proper place and get another parking lot in, it will connect to our Big Hill Preserves and eventually to our Harvigo Bear River Preserve, which is along the Bear River. And that preserve is almost 1,800 acres. Our Big Hill Preserves are about 900 acres. And this was going to create about 50 miles of trails all through the Hidden Falls, up through the Placer Land Trust preserves, and beyond, because the county has plans to actually expand that further if they can. So if you are interested in this process or want to comment to help make it happen, I would encourage you to go to the county's website and maybe see what you need to do to add a comment, maybe read up on it a little bit first, and either show your support if you're interested in making it happen. The other thing that we are doing from our level on this is we've put in numerous trails on the Big Hill Preserve and the Harvigo Preserve, and we have trail maintenance that needs to happen periodically. And one of our board members, he heard that I was coming down here, and Art, I don't know, maybe you know this. He said that the county has tried to reach out to Lincoln Hills Hiking Club because then he said in the past there was like a subgroup that used to help do maintenance on the trails. Okay. Do you not do that anymore? Okay. Okay. So, okay. So if there's interest, apparently the county is trying to find people that are interested, hiking groups and stuff that are interested in helping do some trail maintenance. And then we also have our own team of trail maintenance people. So if anybody is interested in that and wants to be on our trail maintenance team, you can let me know and we can add you to that list too. We have a volunteer who's kind of been heading that up for about 6 or 8 months, and he's going to try to do like the second Tuesday of every month to go out and do like 2 to 3 hours of trail maintenance now that we finally got a good soaking of rain. So it's kind of hard, that granite soil doesn't want to dig up too well. So after it rains a little bit, it loosens it up enough so that they can go out there and start doing some maintenance on the trails. We've got to go through my head here and think what else I had on my slides.
You were also going to wrap up with the volunteer.
Oh, yes. So we do have several volunteer opportunities. You guys are all part of a hiking club, and we have volunteer docents who lead hikes on our property. How many people in this room went on the private geology hike that we set up for you guys? So that was at Big Hill. Did you guys like that hike? Yeah? So the 3 docents that were the primary leads for that are all geologists. And we actually have a public one that's going to be coming up on November 10th, if anybody wants to kind of a repeat of that, although they do mix it up a little bit. But we are looking for docents who might be interested in leading some hikes on our preserves. We're also looking for people who like the work that we do that might want to be ambassadors to help out doing things such as this, speaking, although I would suggest doing it with a PowerPoint that actually works. It makes it a little easier. And tabling, tomorrow I'm going to be up at Gold Country Wildlife Rescue's open house, and I'm going to have a table for the Land Trust there because we've actually, Gold Country Wildlife and us work together. They've released some of their animals onto our preserves before after they've been rehabilitated. So the last major one was about a year ago, and they had a bobcat that got released on one of our remote preserves, so that was pretty exciting. I got to be there and take pictures, and it was actually kind of scary because that thing was growling, it was in a cage, and it was all covered, and here's like 10 people, and we're all standing around going, what's it gonna do? What's it gonna do? And they lift the blanket and open the cage, and the thing is growling and snarling and hissing, and it gets out and it turns around and it looks, and it didn't know where to go because it had no idea where it was. Started running towards people, and we're all going, oh my gosh, and backing up, and then it turned and ran off into the wild. So it was exciting and kind of frightening at the same time. But it was a beautiful animal. The hike docent and the ambassadors are the main areas that we are looking for volunteer help if anyone is interested in that. And then with our conservator dinner coming up honoring the oaths, we do have tickets available for that on our website. We have sponsorship available if anybody is interested and wants to sponsor. It's at the Ridge in Auburn, really nice venue. The food is really good. And I'm trying to think, what else do we have coming up? Spring, we get pretty busy with hikes in the spring. We try to do monthly docent-led hikes. In the spring, we tend to do a little bit more than once a month because it's just so pretty out there and we want people to see what those preserves look like. I think when you guys went, it was early June, probably a little bit dry, but usually April and May. Their wildflowers were amazing this past spring. You look out and it was a field of purple everywhere you looked. It was just amazing. So we tend to do sometimes 2 to 3 specialized hikes in the spring every month, usually starting in March, April, and May. We try to do a little bit more. We do some family activities. Canyon View Preserve, has anybody hiked there? At Canyon View Preserve? It's in Auburn at the Bowman Road exit. You park at the park and ride at the Bowman Road exit, right where the CAL FIRE helicopter pad is. And we have a preserve there. It's about 50-acre preserve that's open to the public. And it's about a 1.5-mile loop trail. It's not very long, but it's amazing. You've got a nice view of the Forest Hill Bridge. And we've got picnic tables there, and we've got benches and some interpretive signs. And you just go, hike on your own there. And it's when you get down into the woody area, you're not very far from the freeway, but you can't hear the freeway noise at all. You're just in this amazing natural area, and you're literally 5 minutes from the freeway. But it's just, you get absorbed in all of the trees, and you can hear the creek running through, and it's not quite to the American River, and we were told at some point in the future, there might be a connection down to the state parks along the river from that preserve. When it's not there yet, but we're told that might be happening in the future. What else can I tell you? What am I allowed to say? So we have a couple other projects coming up that should close before the end of the year, and I'm probably not supposed to say that. So that's going to add to our property count. Something that might be of interest is in June, usually around the summer solstice, we do a once-a-year tour to our Shootamole Bear River Preserve that has the largest known population of dog-faced butterfly, which is our state insect, pretty much anywhere in the state of California. We don't know why this particular piece of property has all these dog-faced butterflies. We had Rob on the Road from KVIE a couple years ago came out and did some filming out there and did one of his shows all on this dog-faced butterfly. I think if you get out your driver's license, there's a small picture in the bottom left corner with the dog-faced butterfly on it. But we do that once a year, and it's by sign-up. There is usually a donation request for that because it's a special hike. But if anyone is interested in that, shoot me an email and I can get you on a list because we have a list going and we try to get the people on the list first and then open it up to other people after that. So does anybody have any questions? Yes, sir. I'm sorry, say it again? Oh. Yeah, we could probably figure out how to do that, something like that afterwards. I think I need to throw away my flash drive and get a different one because it works on my computer, but it's apparently not working on anyone else's. Yeah, is something wrong with it? Bummer. So, yes, sir.
Your agricultural easements, is there public access on those, thinking specifically about the trails?
For the easements, generally no, because the landowner still retains ownership of the properties. We just hold the easement. So it's not public access unless you arrange something with the property owner, because the land trust doesn't own the property that we have easements on. Yeah, we do about once every other year or so. We try to do a special tour out at the Oast Ranch, which I think that will be coming up in the spring. So that if that's something that is of interest, that those get posted on our website as well. But But most of the easements that we have don't have trails on them. Most of, a good portion of them are still active cattle ranches or some other sort of agriculture going on. And it's like the trails that we do have on our preserves, there's still cattle grazing on a lot of there, and sometimes the cattle interaction with people is not always fun, especially when there's a mom with a young calf. But yes, ma'am. Our Big Hill and Harvigo preserves are not yet open to the public, but we do have a number of preserves that are open to the public. So Cisco Grove up I-80 before you get to Truckee is open. The Stagecoach Preserve in Auburn, the Canyon View Preserve is in Auburn. The Bailey North Fork Preserve is up in Alta, and it's part of the Green Valley Trail. That property was just donated to the Land Trust a couple years ago. Miners Ravine Trail in Roseville. The Auburn School Park Preserve, which is really just a park. And there's a couple others. There's no trails on those, and they're not open to the public yet. But we do some special tours for those as well. So there's not really hiking trails on those. Yes, it is. And our website is placerlandtrust.org. And we're also on Facebook and Instagram if any of you folks are doing that. And our updates that are come out a lot are usually on our Facebook page, because it's easier to update Facebook than it is to update the website. So we try to be pretty active on social media, because the younger generation likes the social media, and we want to make sure that they have an understanding of nature and have the ability to go out and do some hikes and stuff. We want to protect it for the current and future generations. So, any other questions? Yes, sir.
Just a comment. You're talking about volunteers helping with your organization. Clark Smith, who's one of the honorary members of our club currently, and Dennis Rattay, I believe, were very much instrumental in the sign work for Hidden Falls. So all the signs in there, Clark and I think Dennis and a few other members were instrumental in putting them in, installing them, and making them.
Okay.
So just so you know, our club was involved in that.
Okay. I do want to clarify that Hidden Falls is the county's park. A lot of people think that the Land Trust owns it because we do partner with the county, but that is a county park, and then it's going to connect to some of our preserves. And that's been a long-range goal that has been thought about for a number of years. And the only thing right now that's stalling it from moving forward is, where do you put another parking lot? So I think they had no idea that Hidden Falls was going to be as popular as it is when they opened that. Okay, are we done? Great. All right.
Thank you, Janet, for an a cappella presentation. It was wonderful.